PULS8 Radio.
Gary Newman! What? Hey, lads, bloody hell. I forgot it was the show. How are you doing? I didn't realise you were sat there waiting.
We got a full tank of petrol and wearing sunglasses.
Oh, I'm on my holidays.
Yeah, and on a mission from God.
I'm in the Caribbean. Where are you? Like, are you lads still at home?
I'm just having a cheeky beer.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it? And Phil,
I'm not having any beer.
Well,
no, you're not. You're off the alcohol, Phil.
After the week you've had, Phil,
Yeah.
crikey, O'Reilly, Oliver Reed would be off it.
Yes. Yeah, Wales, it's done it to me.
It has. It always does.
Though.
It always does. It always
Yeah.
does. But it's a summer special. It's a summer's evening. Wow, that's why I thought I'd sit outside. What a glorious evening it is. It's warm. It's hot. It's sunny. We're in great company. But not only are we in great company, but we also have an amazing. We say this every single episode, but good God, the array of music we have tonight is absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal. And most of it, again, is from inside the PULS8 and Only Human community. So this is from 90% of this is from people within the community, but from around the world, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it certainly is. Yeah, we PULS8 really is a community. It is obviously from our roots in North Wales and Chester, but growing out across the world. We got tracks from Scotland and USA and Sweden, to name a few. Yeah,
and we might even have one from not Wales anymore because you've gone home, Phil. But it was Wales earlier.
Yes.
But from Shropshire.
deepest Leicestershire.
Leicestershire. Same difference, isn't it?
Leicestershire. Sorry, I should have jumped in there. Yeah, Leicestershire.
Yeah, same difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
East side.
And you've got your Moog T-shirt on tonight as well. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Moog.
I have, yeah. It's about 15 years old, so it's about to fall off my back. It's that moth-eaten, but yeah.
It's probably about the same as my shirt. I'll do your swap.
I love that shirt. That's right up my street.
Well, I tell you what, why don't we kick into some music? We've got, honestly, an amazing array of stuff tonight. So Martin's bookended this beautifully. So we've got two songs that are outside of our community tonight to bookend the whole thing. Inside that bookending, we've got an array of stuff from all sorts of people. Some names you'll recognise, some names you won't, but all people who are connected to us all throughout. So let's just dive into one and we'll have a chat about it on the other side. So this is I Break Horses. This is Faith.
PULS8 Radio.
Wow. I don't know how else to say anything else, but just wow. What a way to start the show. That was I Break Horses, Faith. Good heavens above. I'm not going to say anything until I let you guys have a chat about that. Martin, where do we find these from? They're amazing.
I think it's one of my Shazams again. Listening to Netflix, particularly during the lockdown period of January, February, March, and I've got 2 of their albums now, and they are. I went out for a walk a few months ago, and I had the whole one of these albums on, and I thought, oh, this is good stuff. This is really good electronica. So that's how I got them and found them. I don't know much about them, to be honest.
It's an amazing song though, Phil, isn't it? I mean, the bass line inside that was astonishing.
Yeah, the bass working with the drums as well. I've got a feeling of the Kraftwerk sort of Trans-Europe Express with the trainish rhythm, and then different aspects of weirdly of Kraftwerk going through it, like rising arpeggios, like and then a voice was fantastic. A real I tell you what it reminded me of as well. So you've got a background of sort of Kraftwerk-ish, but when a voice come in, it felt a bit Arcade Fire-ish to me.
Oh,
yeah, and the way she delivered it, and that bit like that Regine out of Arcade Fire, and the interesting lyrics. Go on, Martin.
What I thought was the band, Liverpool band called Ladytron, and I've just bought another album of Ladytron, which we might actually have on the show soon, because I think that's a good shout out. But I thought, hey, that just sounds a bit like Ladytron. If you guys know them.
I don't, but I'm going to look them up now.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit of Ladytron. Yeah, see where you're coming from there.
And that distorted main as well was just fantastic. It was just the way and I would love to know what this was made on, how they actually created the sounds inside this, because the whole thing it was just brilliant. I mean, I wrote at the end of that, this could chart. This is just such a good song. This really could chart.
I think it may. Well, I think it may have done well. It might. Well, I think they had a. I think they had a video on it, but there's definitely some retro drum machines in there somewhere, and 80s drum machines. Yeah,
you can probably hear a bit of background noise here. There's the occasional ambulance and police car racing past, because I'm in deepest Caribbean. There's all sorts going on in the background. There's like a riot over there, and I'm in Roast on Sea. But anyway,
I thought I heard a toucan. Yeah.
Toucan play that game.
Toucan play that.
Hey! But that was amazing.
You line them up, Phil.
But that was amazing. So where can we find a little bit more of I Break Horses? Is it Bandcamp, the usual spotting place?
No. They're ibreakhorses.se. So SE is obviously the Swedish domain.
Yeah.
So that go and find them, and obviously that they've got a YouTube channel. So just search for I Break Horses. Yeah. But awesome band. I got 2 of their albums. I think there's another one, and I'm going to get that soon as well.
Superb.
Brilliant.
Amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Right, okay, we're going to start jumping into the community now. So we've got it's a good old PULS8 Radio stalwart. It's our dear friend Johnny Diamond.
Yep.
With another great Johnny Diamond song. He is just so good at writing this type of stuff, and he's a proper singer-songwriter, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
Yes. So let's jump in.
Yeah, Diamond Geezer.
He is.
Yeah.
Let's dive in. This is Johnny Diamond, A New Romantic on Love Street. Yeah, it's another Johnny classic. He always pops out a belter every single time he knows it's a Johnny Diamond. It's going to be an absolute corker, isn't it, Phil? Come on, what another corker that was.
Yeah, it was. It's because it's called New Romance on Love Street, and it's got a great new romantic 80s feel to it.
Yeah.
And he's been using recently a mate to do the drums. Unfortunately, I can't remember his friend's name. But this, I think, has gone back to his old Yamaha RX drum machine. And it's given it that authentic 80s sound with his... he's got some, like, real Nick Rhodes arpeggios and chords going on there. But what I noticed, and Johnny Diamond's good at this, he's tackling some issues in his lyrics there as well, going on about the makeup in the past, and how people were thought of, he must be gay just because he's got makeup on, and the issues that are on there. And he's tackling those issues. Johnny Diamond is never afraid to be a little bit, direct and have a bit of a message in his songs, I always find. A brilliantly crafted song. And,
sorry, just
a good
stroking me pussy.
Yeah.
Not now, Arthur. Not now.
Sorry, Phil.
There's always one, usually Martin. Martin, what did you think of that song?
Well, it was annoying me. It's a great song, but I thought, I know this chord progression. I thought, what is it? And no, it's Echo Beach by Martha and the Muffins.
Oh,
right.
Listen to the chord progression. And not saying that it sounds like, but certainly the chord progression. So hang on, that sounds very familiar, which is obviously a very retro 80s sound. Something I know been playing, and we play it in our band. So I thought, God, I don't recognise that, but obviously great vocal harmonies as well. And and I think in his lyrics he said all those many years ago and things like that. And there's a track I used to love which uses those same sort of lyrics by a band called B Movie, Remembrance Day. Back in the 80s, in the forest, in the snow, all those many years ago, and maybe not the same.
That was a cracking track.
Yeah, brilliant. Used to love B Movie. But they never did anything. But so there's a bit of a reference there to B Movie and Martha the Muffins.
My kids love the B Movie, but I think it's a different thing altogether. That's the animated film with Jerry Seinfeld. But it's I get where you're coming from. But it is a great piece of music again, as always. So again, if you listen to a lot of the songs tonight, these, in fact, I think maybe nearly all of them, apart from maybe the first one and maybe the last one, this is one person creating this music. So these are one man or one person bands.
Yeah.
So again,
and I think he's getting better. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's extraordinary, really, if you think about it. Back to an old one-person band used to be and you have your thing on your back and your cymbals and all the rest of it. But now you're actually able, as one person, to create a whole, like an album of music on your own in a room. It's
in your bedroom, in your studio. Many. I think reference David Gray, for instance, his very first album, which went massive, was done in his bedroom at the time.
Really?
And apparently, if you listen close to is it White Flag? No, White Flag. No.
What, you can hear his mum knocking on the door to
White Ladder.
Have a tea.
Something like that, yeah. Then you can hear the traffic apparently if you listen closely. He was talking about this on Radio 2 a few weeks ago, and if you actually can listen closely enough to, which was a phenomenal, multi-million selling album. He recorded in his bedroom literally with. Obviously, if you're using a decent microphone, it's going to pick up sounds in the background. But today, this is what people are doing.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing. It's so accessible to absolutely everybody now.
And you don't need, as I showed Phil the other day, everything I do is is in my box, which is just my PC. That's what I do, and you don't need to have a large space to actually write all this material. Okay, if you're a guitarist, and you can have a few more guitars. If you want to reuse analog synths, but you can literally just record things, or even down. Obviously, we know down to an iPad or an iPhone. It could be that small.
Yeah,
it could be a studio.
We have had songs on in the past which are made purely on an iPhone, which is, again, an extraordinary achievement. Anyway, amazing song again. Thank you very much indeed, Johnny Diamond. We love your stuff, and just send us more and more and more. Right, we're going to move on. Next up, we've got, it's one of my favourites. I absolutely love Iromnim 3. I just love Iromnim 3. Just amazing.
Yeah, I thought we have on the show again because there's such. This is such a great album.
Absolutely. Now, I'm not sure which bit's the album. Is Dark Machina the album? I think it is.
Dark Machina is the album, yeah.
It is, right. Yeah. Okay, so this is Iromnim 3 off the album Dark Machina. This is Digital Fury, Sleep Replicating Robots.
Something so important has happened was maybe 3.5 billion years ago, when life was invented. in seeing yourself as part of a grander process that leads the cosmos from low complexity towards higher complexity. I have no doubt in my mind.
Romnim 3, Digital Fury, sleep replicating robots. I don't know what to say apart from just that was just right up my alley. That really was. Phil, how did you find that?
Yeah, it was like the previous track that they put on. It's got a really interesting vocal sample all the way through, like a sci-fi thing about outer space and things like, you say, replicating themselves and stuff like that. And with a really strange sort of foreign accent. I know the guys are from Scotland, but it wasn't a Scottish accent.
No.
It was some sort of Eastern European or something. And then their soundscapes, I think, and they describe them as that. Loads of organic sounding samples and all sorts of stuff, and synth in there. It's a real fantastic mix that they do ever so well. And it's really nice to hear. This is a slightly more musical track than their previous one, which was a little bit more challenging than this one. I found this a bit more accessible, but still got that edge to it.
Absolutely. Did you spot a little bit of, I hate to say the GN word, but did you spot a bit of Gary Newman in there? Again, was it just me? It quite often is just me. It's just me again.
Well, you still take the tablets for that?
No. I think I'll start again. So anyway, on to you, Martin. What did you think?
Yeah, well, I messaged the guys, and apparently they searched out some talks, lectures, and from TV programs. And this this particular track was a lecture of a scientist about artificial intelligence,
right?
And how we would evolve, expand into reach onto other planets. So
really,
I've actually just finished a track called Artificial Intelligence with which I think I shared with you guys, and which hopefully will come on the show in the next few shows time. But yeah, so that was the premise behind it. I thought it was very Depeche Mode, dark sort of Depeche Mode, sort of late 80s, 90s to me, where all the sampling sort of came in. That bass line was just
the bass line was amazing.
Just bonkers.
Yeah, bass line was amazing. So not Gary Newman then.
No, afraid not. No.
Right.
Just move on, Jules. He ain't gonna contact you anymore.
He's in a right huff. He's in a right huff. He really is. So anyway, that was amazing. Romnim 3. And obviously the Dark Machina album, is that a Bandcamp album that we can find? Yeah,
Romnim 3 at bandcamp.com.
Okay.
I think you can find it on there. Yeah.
Superb. Again, any more stuff at Romnim 3, please do send that through, because we just love every song that you do. It's just absolutely astounding. So we're coming on to yet another of our favourites from the show. I'll do the joke before I say the name. Can you lift me up? Yeah. It's our good friends Minimums. And let's just jump into it, because this is just awesome. This is Minimums Hiatus. Anything by Minimums is just awesome. But Minimums Hiatus, that was absolutely amazing. And I've got a comparison for it. And you really shouldn't compare. I hate comparing things to other things, especially when it's about your mini mum, because you shouldn't compare your mini mum to anything. You've only got one unique mini mum. So, leave those be. But that said, Susie and the Banshees, Cities in Dust. Now, is it just me again?
I don't know the track. I don't know the track, but I obviously know Susan and Banshees, but I've got a different comparison. But right.
Well, it starts off with like a like that, and it matched.
Well remembered.
Quite well. I did have to actually listen to it a little bit on Spotify just to remind myself. But I knew it reminded me of something, and it was Susie and the Banshees, "Cities in Dust," which is a great song anyway. So just pick it up. And it's not that it's trying to replicate that. It's just that I felt that influence inside there. So anyway, sorry. Go on, Phil.
Yeah. What was that? Cities and Bust.
Cities in Dust. Not
Dust. Oh, Cities in Dust.
Yeah, not Titties and Bust. No.
We'll edit that bit out.
You tried to stitch me up there. Anyway, well, I'm a sucker for a temple bell. And the beginning of it sounded like a load of cascading temple bells.
Yeah.
And then this sounded... We've heard a few Minimums tracks now on the show. And this had a really good structured feel to it. Some great samples in there, because I like temple bells, because I like this meditation type music, and this had a lot of that element to it, but it never crossed the border into new age naffness. Never did. It had kept its coolness. But if you know what I mean, it could have gone pan-pipey or whatever, but it didn't. It remained ice cool.
Don't bring the pan-pipes up again.
But still got the
pan-pipe gate.
But it could have had, it could have gone that way, but it didn't. So it was marvelous. I really enjoyed listening to that.
It was beautiful, and there was some fantastic piano arps inside there, and then there was that lovely sweeping pad that just sat underneath so subtly all the way through it. It was just absolutely beautiful.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, my only criticism, it was too short. It was just too short.
Yeah.
And what the second part of it, what it reminded me of was "Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence" by Richie Sakamoto.
Oh yeah.
It really thought, that's got. It's not the same music, but it's really had that vibe to it.
Yeah, great film as well.
Oh yeah, brilliant film, and the music, it just tear you up when you hear the "Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence." Forbidden Colours. Sorry, that's the track.
Right.
So that's what it really reminded me of, and I think when I spoke to Mr. Minimums, as we don't know who he is exactly, he said this is slightly different, and it is very different.
Yeah.
The other stuff he does very sort of ambient and lush ambience, but this is quite more sort of filmic and cinematic, I think. But that's why
like
it's sort
soundtrack.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was just utterly gorgeous. It really was. And again, that lovely sweeping pad underneath. I just loved every second of that. And as you say, I could have listened to that for another 5-6 minutes on top of what was there. It was just so beautiful. Yeah. So again, Minimums, thank you very much indeed for that. Apologies for my jokes, but it was superb. And thank you very much. And please do send
I think he likes them, even though I still don't get it.
You don't get it? Why don't you get it, Martin? Can you lift me up? It's a small mum. It's a small mum. She can't
to lift her up.
You're supposed to lift her up.
Can't reach the top shelf.
So what's the maximum then?
They could reach themselves on their own. Any assistance whatsoever. And of course, there are also small dads too. Let's just make everything nice and equal. So let's just not get into that area. Right, that was superb. Thank you very much indeed, Minimums. That was absolutely brilliant. So we're going to move into an interview now. We've got an interview with our very own
the Philster.
It is the Philster. It is the Philster. It's Phill Goodall. Yeah. We've got a fascinating interview about your time in the record industry, Phil. And let's not even preempt everything that's going to be said, but it was fascinating and delightful, warm-hearted, and lovely to talk to you about your time with what you did. Let's just have a listen. This is Phill Goodall. After this, we're going to have a listen to Phil's new song, which is Bedouin Bedroom March, the Solstice Mix by Swirler Burner. So off we go. Well, we're back with another one of our fantastic interviews, and this time it's our very own co-presenter, Phill Goodall. Phill Goodall, good evening. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you very much, Jules.
This is very exciting, Phill, to be able to interview you, because a lot of people probably don't realise the history that you've got behind you, and we'll kind of move on to that as we get through the interview a little bit and start to learn about what you did and where you were signed and all those little bits and pieces. But how did you actually get into all this in the first place? What was your motivation to actually start making music?
Well, just before I start, I don't know if I'm going to be as good as some of the esteemed guests we've had on before, but hopefully I've got a bit of an interesting story, I suppose, and I think my message is there for all the people out there in the community that are, doing their amateur work and what have you, is to, if you fancy trying to progress, my story is just of plugging away at stuff really, and then eventually things may happen. May not. There's a lot of luck involved. Certainly isn't talent in my case, but there you go. But to answer your question, how I got into synthesizers in particular, my passion, was when I was about 14 or something like that. And I went round a friend of my dad's, and his son was about 18. He said, I've got this new album. What do you think of it? And I said, he says it's Tangerine Dream.
Oh,
he said, have you ever heard of them? I said, no, I've never heard of anything. He goes, well, they play a lot of synthesizer stuff and they make sounds like you've never heard before. So I had to listen to it, and there was a load of modular, I don't know what album it was. It was around 1977.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of modular sort of arpeggios going on and all that business. And I just thought, wow, I really want to know more about how they make this sort of music sort of thing. But in those days, there wasn't the internet or anything like that. So the first thing I could do, I was going to Birmingham. The only way I could find out about it was to go in a music shop.
Right.
And I literally asked if they'd got a synthesizer. That was it.
And what was the one that you actually saw in that shop? Do you remember?
I think it was a Yamaha CS5.
Right.
Which now on the cover, I think, of this magazine or something, or an article he showed me, there was a mini Moog.
Right.
Or Moog, as the purists like to call them. And of course it's got that angled back with all the knobs on it. And I just thought, that's the sort of thing I want, because the great big modular with all the banks of knobs and everything was just impossible to even dream of then. So I went into this shop, and there's this Yamaha CS5, and of course it's got the angled back, loads of little knobs on it. And I thought, the guy then demonstrated it for somebody far older than me who'd obviously got enough money to buy it. But I just stood there in the background and that was it. I thought, I've just got to get one of them one day. So I wasn't sure I was going to get it on me flipping paper round money.
So,
but
could you already play a keyboard at that point?
No, but I had a thing about pianos.
Right.
So I could tinkle a bit on the piano, and we had a piano at home actually, an old out of tune piano, and I could play a little bit of basic stuff on that. My parents refused to pay for lessons, so I had to teach myself.
Right.
So I was able to sort of knock a bit of a melody out on the piano before I even sort of got involved with the synthesizer. So I was lucky there.
So, I mean, you fell in love with that one. Was that the first synth that you actually ended up with then?
No. So I've spent forever going into music shops and stuff and just hanging around, dreaming of one day I might be able, and having the occasional go till the shop assistant got cheesed off of me and told me to sod off, And one day I was at a disco in Stafford, and I had, on the way home, a bunch of rockers jumped me.
Oh, really?
Basically, slashed me across the face, tried to stab me in the chest, but they ended up stabbing me in the top of the head. The blade of the flipping penknife bent back and cut the bloke's fingers on my skull. So luckily, it had a weak sort of mechanism, and it bent back instead of penetrating my skull. Anyway, cut a long story short, I ended up with compensation money from that. I think it was about 500 quid, and I just went straight down Woodruff in Birmingham to get a CS5, but there they had a CS15, and it was on offer. This was about 1980, getting on for 81.
Yeah.
I think it'd been out a couple of years, and I think it was they were discounting it. So I got the CS15, which is like 2 CS5s in one.
Yeah.
And my mum, when I got it back, I think this is on my bio on the radio page. My mum went, well, I plugged it in. I couldn't get a sound out of it because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And they eventually got a really weedy sound out of it through some headphones.
Yeah.
And my mum said, had a play, and she said, it doesn't play more than one note, so it must be broken. I said, no, that's what it's like. She went, what a load of rubbish. How much was it, Because there was a lot of money in those days.
Yeah,
She
absolutely.
went absolutely berserk. But when I took it into my room, I was never off it.
Really?
I was on it every night, mucking about with it. I was fascinated by it.
Have you still got it now?
Now, I sold it some years ago to the guy that was in Bizarre Inc., Andy Meacham.
Oh, really?
So, Playing with Knives and that track, why waste your time? You know you're going to be mine.
Yeah.
You know you're going to be mine. He wrote, that was a number one, actually. I sold it to him, and
Blimey.
he's got it in his massive synth collection now.
Really?
Yeah,
So your synth could have actually been on one of those hits. You never know.
Yeah, I think it was after he'd had those
Oh,
hits.
was it?
He's an act called Emperor Machine now,
Right.
and he's quite well. He's be worth an interview. I've asked him if he'll be interviewed, but he's not replied yet. So
Right. Well, if he's
I'm
watching,
hoping.
come on, get on with us, and we'll do a quick interview with him as well. Well, that's brilliant. So, and it's nice that went. But what was your next step up into since then? What was once you sold that on? Did you buy a different one or?
No, I kept that for many, many years.
Yeah.
It was quite late on. It was after I'd been. Obviously, later on, we found out I was signed to Factory with a band.
Yeah.
I sold that, but I collected some other synths along the way. But the biggest thing in those days that transformed the synth, because none of them had effects on, I got a little spring reverb unit. Was the next thing I bought.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't buy it. Somebody lent it me, a guitarist, and I plugged me CS15 through it. It just took it to another level.
Right.
Just a spring reverb. It was absolutely brilliant. And then I got access to a Roland monosynth called an SH09.
Yeah.
And immediately I got that. It didn't look as good as the CS15. But I was blown away by it because the filters would self-oscillate and do that whistling.
Right. Yeah.
The CS15 won't do that. And I thought, I wish mine would do that. So I just gradually got more and more into it. And I started buying the magazines, Sound on Sound came out in the early 80s. And I can't remember what the previous magazine was to that, but that's where I learned all about filters and, different techniques with the synthesizers.
So what was obviously that then led into being in bands and all the rest of it. So what was your first band and what was your journey into all that?
The first band I was in, I was with a friend of mine called John Mottershead, who was one of these kids who spent all his money on gadgets. So he bought a Roland SH101, and a TB303 bassline, original. Yeah, a TR606 drum machine, Dramatics, I think it was called then. An MC202, which was like an SH101 in a little sequencer format.
Yeah.
And then I had my CS15, and we got in with a bass player, and we were called Step 2. That was our first band. I used to joke we were Step 2 and Son, like Step 2 and Son. Because we were a bit naff. But yeah, that was our first foray into being in a band. That didn't last long. Then I found out one of my mates I went to school with could sing.
Right.
So we ended up in like a synth duo. But then I ended up bringing in Mark Hacken Meddins, which is usually on the PULS8 Radio feed as Sensian.
Ah, right, Sensian, yeah.
His name, yeah. So that was the second band that we were called See You, See Me.
Right.
And he came in and he got a Juno 6, which I still think he's
wow.
got.
Really?
I think on his track that he played on PULS8, he was using the Juno 6 then. And he came in, he got all sorts of ideas with fifths and sevenths because he could play proper chords on it. I don't know, we only did one sort of a tape together of about 4 tracks, and then we did a gig together. I don't know why it fizzled out. I think it may have been me down to being a bit... I got used to working on my own with my mate.
Yeah.
And Mark coming in, I was a bit immature because when I look back after, I thought some of the best early stuff I ever did was with Mark Meddings.
Really?
And all the stuff I learnt off him because he's a very knowledgeable bloke. He does all that stuff where he gestures with a watch now to... or different controllers to operate his modular gear.
He's
a really talented guy. Yeah, it's been a real surprise to get back in touch with him. Yeah, and then not long after that, I ended up in a band with our very own Andy Peggs.
Right,
was in it. But it was nothing to do with synths. It was more of a funk sort of band.
Right,
called Jump for Joy.
Right.
Yeah, so that's how I knew Andy Peggs.
Blimey. So where did that lead on to then? So you did that with Andy, but and we're starting to get into the, not that stuff wasn't exciting, Phil, but we're starting to get into the really exciting stuff then, I think, are we?
Yeah, so what happened was I went back to eventually just being with me and my friend as a synth pop duo.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was all the rage, and we got an interview with for a contract with Virgin Records.
Right.
And we went down to Virgin Records and everything, and they were all set to sign us, but we hadn't got a manager. Right. And then this other act, and I can't remember who it was, another act who had a manager pipped us to, they got budget for another act. Yeah, they pipped us to it. It was neck and neck between us and them. And because they got a proper manager, they got the contract. So I thought, I'm through with music now because I was spending all my money from work.
Yeah.
My life was on hold. My girlfriend was fed up with me. I thought, I've got to do something. So I applied for Nottingham University and got in on an engineering degree there. The moment I did that, this guy, a friend of mine, Matt Tedstone, he'd been in the recording studio and had done a demo, and he was complaining how long it took him to do the drums because he hasn't got a drummer. And I got a really good Roland R8 drum machine. So I said, I'll do the drums for you. And it turned out to be the Adventure Babies.
Right.
And then we went on then to do a live set. I ended up doing an album demo with them, programming the drum machine basically and doing a little bit of keys. And then we ended up doing a live set in front of Tony Wilson, the head of Factory Records at the time. Yeah. In this lad, that his name was Danny McIntosh. I nicknamed him. He always wore Reeboks, so I nicknamed him the Reebok Jock. But we ended up doing this live performance in the living room with Tony Wilson sat on the floor with his girlfriend or wife. She was Miss UK.
Right.
It's like after his first marriage. And we finished doing the set, and he stood up at the end and he said something like, well, that was brilliant. Time to give up your day jobs. You just got a record contract.
Really? That's amazing.
Tony Wilson, yeah. So, and then we ended up signed to Factory.
Blimey.
But I was only a small part of that because there was 8 in the band altogether, which was a massive mistake.
Well, that is a big old band, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, it's because basically everybody's mates. Just
right.
The lad that run it, Matt, was very generous and very sort of, gregarious.
Yeah.
Just wanted as many of his mates that you could get to be involved. And there's some fabulous musicians in there. Roger Johns, who was there was the 2 ex-professional footballers
really
that were brilliant musicians as well as being brilliant footballers. Yeah. The guitarist Eddie Morton, who's now quite a well-known folk musician and runs a folk club in the Midlands, and the guy called Davey Av, who'd been in loads of bands for years, and we all just mixed together.
Yeah.
It was 8 of us in all, and created this thing, the Adventure Babies, and got signed.
So what was what was the process then? Did you have to produce an album straight off, or do you have to produce a single first, or how does it? What happens when you actually get that? So you're signed, and then just like you're in it, then, aren't you? What happens then?
We got an album's worth of material on a demo. Yeah. We'd already done an album's worth. Then we did a couple of more songs to add to it, so there was more of a selection, because those days you had about 12 songs on an album. Yeah. It was a CD and vinyl. We had some vinyl records as well, so you were restricted. And then Factory chose a producer for us. It was Steve Lillywhite.
Really?
Who was the producer for U2, Rolling Stones. Most famous for U2 though. The Laws.
David Byrne, I think he did as well in Talking Heads, didn't he?
David Byrne, XTC, and he was married to Kirsty MacColl.
Oh, really? Right, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I met her a few times through Steve.
Yeah.
So that was fascinating. Yeah, so we ended up in a recording studio. We used a recording studio in Wolverhampton.
Yeah.
So instead of spending the advance, because then they advance you some money to produce the album, some of it goes to the producer. Steve Lillywhite was very generous and said he'd just take points, which is basically money from the sales of the album. And so instead of going down London to a fancy studio or somewhere out in the country, we bought a state-of-the-art mixing desk for the studio that we already used.
Yeah.
Which happened to be a masterstroke the way it all turned out in the end. Because then we could sell that off to pay off a tax bill.
Well, we'll come to that bit in a second then. So you managed to produce the album then, and actually get to that, and that actually went into release then, did it?
Yes, it did. And first of all, we produced a single, which was the Narrowboat EP. Yeah. Then there was the single off the album, the first single, which was Barking Mad.
Yeah.
And then the second single off the album was going to be Laugh, which is a song that was inspired by myself because of my stupid laugh. So I was quite proud of that. But unfortunately, the single never got released. So the album did get released.
Yeah.
But the first single got properly released. We got into the indie charts. The first EP got into the indie charts very low down, sort of 30 or something. I think the first single off the album, Barking Mad, got into the indie charts in the top 10.
Right.
And then the next single was projected to proper UK chart, mainstream chart, but it never got released.
Why didn't it get released?
Happy Mondays bust the record company, didn't they? The Happy Mondays went to Jamaica and blew all their budget on drugs and had no product for the company to sell. So
I actually didn't know that was what busted Factory Records. So it was Happy Mondays doing that, was it?
Yeah, amongst other problems.
Yeah.
But what was funny was because none of the acts on Factory had any contracts.
Right.
They had no official contracts.
Really?
Other than us. We were the only band on Factory that ever had an official contract. And Factory was all very art above substance or money.
Yeah.
So they paid this artist, I don't know who it was, to create this contract, which was loads of paper sandwiched between two pieces of perspex, all bolted through, with a picture of a man tied to a post with some rope round his balls, and some woman tugging it. In other words, we've got you by the balls. That was their contract.
That's fantastic. So that
I don't know where it went because it must be worth a fortune.
Yeah, I was just thinking that's a proper collector's piece, that isn't it?
Yeah.
So you actually managed to get the album out, 2 singles out, but just before the third single, Happy Mondays went and screwed it up for everybody, and and so what? So literally, was that it? And Plugged Pulls, that's it, no more, just finished.
Right, so we were ended up in the crap. So we got dropped by Factory because it went bust. Then we were on Virgin Publishing because there's no product being released. they dropped us as well.
Right.
So we had one last throw of the dice. We got another album's worth of material ready to go.
Yeah.
So we got a mixing desk.
Yeah.
Which we bought for about 45,000 quid.
Really?
And then we sold to Ian Brodie of the Lightning Seeds
Really?
for 20 odd grand. Plus, I think it was 2 weeks of studio time in his studio in Liverpool. So we went and nicked our own mixing desk off our manager out of his basement of his office with these heavies that we knew from Stafford, or doorman from Stafford. We nicked the mixing desk. It was ours anyway. Just the manager was holding it ransom.
Yeah.
We put it in a van, and then I ended up driving up to Liverpool next to Ian Brodie in his Volvo estate. And Ian Brodie said to me as we set off, "Hold on." He goes, "Are we stealing this mixing desk I'm going to be buying?"
Kinda.
I'm pretty sure he recorded 3 lions on that desk.
Really?
That we sent him, which is weird how it's all come round at the moment. Yeah.
That would be extraordinary if that is the case. That would be absolutely amazing. So did you manage to produce the album then, the unreleased one, the one that you had the material for, using in Brodie's studio and on the mixing desk?
Yes. Yeah, and I can't remember what the working title of it was, but there was some marvelous tunes on it. We did about 50% of the album,
right? And
then by the time we'd finished, we were in the cart with the tax man, and people had to go back to work. Yeah, and it just fizzled out. It was really sad the way it fizzled out, and there was a bit of. It could have been a lot worse. There was the usual band falling out.
Yeah,
people going a bit daft, So it was a classic sort of band story, but it was good while it lasted. It's a good laugh.
Well, yeah, but it's just such a bit of bad luck, that, isn't it? Because you get that one stroke of luck where you actually manage to get that deal. You've got Tony Wilson sat on the floor, said, "Come on, lads, this is it. This is your opportunity." And then all of a sudden, just through unfortunate circumstance, it all just vanishes again.
That's right, yeah. But I was happy because I've never been really motivated by money. I was always more motivated by having something successful, in the music domain. I would have preferred it, I think, if it had been a synth. If it'd have been me, having done it for so many years previously to the Adventure Babies. But it was still fantastic to get their own album out. We met loads of famous people. Yeah. Boy George, which I think I told you.
Yes.
And told us to F off. And we one of the best gigs we did, we supported the Primitives in Sheffield.
Oh, wow.
Who on the bill underneath them was Pulp.
Really?
And then we went on just before Pulp, and below us on the same bill was Ocean Colour Scene.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And we couldn't get on to soundcheck because bloody Jarvis Cocker wouldn't get off the stage.
Because you have supported...
We had a big row with her. Sorry.
You have supported quite a lot of people as well, haven't you? Because you supported Boy George as well, didn't you? Which is where he told us you F off.
Yeah, and funny enough, he wasn't top of the bill. I think Oceanic... Take Me Into Insanity. I think that was top of the bill. Who else have we supported? We paid a massive... Our second gig, our first gig was in the Hacienda. Yeah. First gig we ever played with the band, yeah. And the second gig was at Cities in the Park, and we supported the Buzzcocks, the Pet Shop Boys.
Wow.
Electronic, the Happy Mondays, loads of... Top 808 State, which were absolutely fantastic. Yeah, and we could get in the Hacienda for nothing and go straight to the front of the queue, and they just let us in, which was ace. I absolutely loved that because everybody going, "Who's that lot going in?" And one night I went in the Hacienda and I was sat down in the chill out room, and this Eskimo walked in. This girl, striking girl in an Eskimo outfit. Anyway. I was looking at her. She came straight over and she sat her down so close to me. Her leg was touching mine.
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh my God, it was really intimidating. Anyway, I got up and had a drink. I thought, shall I speak to her? And I thought, I was too scared of her. So I got up and had a drink, came back, and she came back in, sat down next to me again. And then she disappeared. And I thought, I wish I'd spoke to her now, because she was so unusual, you know.
Yeah.
And just then, one of the other members of the band come in and said, hey, guess who's in here tonight? I said, who? He says, Bjork.
No.
I said, who's that? Because I didn't know who she was. He says, lead singer of the Sugar Cube. She's recording with 808 State.
Oh, my God.
And he said, she's wearing a Eskimo outfit. I go, she what? Never spoke to her.
You got flirted with by Bjork.
Yes, in the way she flirts, which is scary as hell.
That's amazing. What a journey, though, Phil. That is just brilliant. And, you know, to meet all those stars and support those bands, that's, you know, that's a dream for people, that is, to have an experience like that. And it might have been short-lived, but, as you say, what an experience to have had.
I mean, yeah, the message I'm trying to get across is to all the younger people that may be out there who fancy trying to make it somehow in the music biz or whatever, is that the main thing you can do is stick at it, take every opportunity you can, collaborate with people, because you never know what links they've got, and just stick at it and see what happens. You know, it doesn't always work out, but that is the main way to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Talent only gets you so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's just grabbing those opportunities. When we spoke with Dominic Hawken the other week, he said exactly the same thing. So his was just pure chance how he managed to get a lot of the stuff that he got, and just taking that opportunity when it's there in front of you. So as you say, if an opportunity comes along, just grab it with both hands. And if it didn't work out, it didn't work out. But it might. You just never know.
Exactly. So get involved with all the stuff like Andy Peggs is doing, your EMOMs, your Only Human gigs, network. Get to know people, and you never know. And even if you don't make it in a you know, what's the measure of it? If it's money, if you don't make it money wise, if you just make it by getting a bit of a play on, you know, a famous radio station or something like that, it's all been worth it. It all makes it worthwhile.
Absolutely. Or even just getting it played on PULS8 Radio. You just never know. You just never know where these things come to. But again, it's surprising the people that actually listen in to the show. You know, we've got some fairly well-known followers within the show now. And it's surprising how, again, people listen to this stuff and you just don't know what people will pick up and take away with them. So it's, it is always worth having that opportunity in front of you and just keeping your ears open to it. And of course, Phil, you're our co-presenter on PULS8 Radio as well. And it's an absolute pleasure having you on there and somebody with your experience on there.
Because there's another example. How the hell did I And the thing is, it's I got back in touch with Andy Peggs, and then he was doing previously the Only Human radio stuff. I came up to Chester to see a couple of Only Human nights, which were fantastic. And I thought, and then I got involved myself by joining the Facebook community, and then getting involved with the couple of Only Human albums that Matt as Matt Garnett has been producing. I'm hoping to do one for the next album if it's good enough to go on. And
sure it will.
And then from that, I stood in for Andy one day because he hadn't got enough time to do a bit of editing on the show. And then here I am.
And then exactly. And then all of a sudden it's come full circle. Yeah, it is amazing. And it is great fun doing the show with you as well. But it's been just fascinating just hearing about the history of that. I knew that you'd been in the Adventure Babies, but I didn't know the full history around it. And the just the unfortunate circumstances that actually ended up in the end. But it's been an absolutely fascinating journey. It really has. And anybody who's listening out there who wants to chat with Phil, just join us on the Facebook page. We're all very friendly chatting people.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I'm sure Phil wouldn't mind you picking his brains just about anything he's done in the industry previously. So anyway, Phil, it's been an utter pleasure as always. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Phill Goodall.
Thank you, Jules. Always the consummate professional. That's what I can say about you, mate.
Not about that.
Cheers.
PULS8 Radio.
Okay. So we've gone into that, out of that. We've gone into your song. We're out of your song. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, I remember that. Phill, what a lovely interview that was, and what a fascinating little tour of an interlude into the record industry back at that time, which was a heady time. You know, that was really quite an extraordinary time to be in the music business.
Yeah, well, I think the message that I wanted to get out there is keep plugging away at what you're doing. Perhaps if you're our age, it's going to be a bit more of a struggle. But if you're a bit younger, just keep at it, keep collaborating, keep joining in with people. You never know what, you know, it was an interesting time, and it is exciting to be part of the music business. You never know what opportunities are going to arise. I mean, who the hell would know I'd end up on here? There's, you know, so just keep going. And
it's all downhill from now, Phill.
But it was
brilliant.
Genuinely fascinating. That really was entertaining, fascinating, and a lovely, just warm, I don't know, like a little tour through that period of what was going on then. And I just loved the bit where you nicked back your big mixing desk and all the rest of it. It was just awesome. And then anyway, I've listened back to the interview.
It was mad.
So it was your fault that we got Baddiel and Skinner and Three Lions. Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, that was superb. And then we moved into your song, which was a brand new song as well, Phill, the Bedouin Bedroom March Solstice Mix, which was awesome. And I hadn't actually realised, because when I pre-listened to all the songs before we did the show, I didn't realise that one was yours. And I just to give him a quick bit on it, I just wrote down an amazing bass and lead on there, and it reminded me of something, and I just couldn't work out what it reminded me of. But all I could just say was just turn it up, turn it up, turn it up, because it was just absolutely superb.
It was groovy.
It was really groovy. And I also wrote down, because I couldn't work out what you'd made it on, and because I didn't know it was yours, I'd written down an electribe. I thought that'd been made using an electribe, because there was a sound I recognised from when I had an electribe, thinking, I'm sure I know that sound, and I think it's the electribe doing it. But I don't think it was, because you haven't got an electribe, have you?
No, I used to have an electribe, and it might have had off the drum electribe, like a low bass drum. But where the sound was off was a Yamaha DX200, which was like the Yamaha electribes. And it's like an FM.
That bit, exactly that bit. Yeah.
What was the drum kit?
That was a mixture, I think, of the electribe and Out of the Door.
Right.
Okay.
So, I sort of synced it up to the door, and I got the drums where I got a marching band kit, and I thought, this is good. Not really heard much marching band stuff, and then when it come on, it sounded a bit naff, and I thought I want to make it danceable, but not as obvious as a boom, 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 boom. So I wanted to make like a unique rhythm that felt danceable. And in the end, that's what it come out like.
My comparison with the rhythm was it's going to be a bit of a weird one, but it's Beyonce. Single ladies put a ring on it.
Yeah, could hear what you say there. Yeah, God,
it's got that. You know, that's the beat that she uses, or something very similar.
You see, every time you say something like that, Martin, and you do a comparison, everybody goes, "Oh yeah!" As soon as I do it, it would just go silent and stare.
Yeah, we got this. So me and Phill think he's got to take some more tablets. He really does.
That's right.
But it was an amazing. So what did you do? What was the bass line with?
That was just like a sub bass,
right?
Out the door, I think.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because again, the bass line was great on it. We've had there's been loads of songs tonight with great bass lines, and I loved the bass line in that one as well. It was amazing.
It was slightly offbeat, and I was going to correct it all. I thought, no, it sort of fits in, so I left it as it was. It is slightly out of beat. But
again,
sort of works.
But exactly that added to it, and you could hear that it was slightly out, but that just added to the whole feel of the song. But it was a great piece of music. And how long did it take you to put that together?
That went together pretty quick. You know, it's one of them. I think about 2 or 3 days. I got the full idea virtually the first sitting, because it's not a very complicated tune. So, like the what I'm trying to do now for Only Human
album 3.
3, God, I'm having a hell of a game with it. But you could never tell, can you?
See, what?
Yeah, and I threw something together in one. I haven't done anything for months now, and I put something together last night. It's not quite finished, but it's the basics bone structure of it is there. But yeah, it's just how it goes, isn't it?
Sometimes it happens, doesn't it? It just comes to you, and that's one of those tracks.
It does. And so I think all three of us are actually submitting a song for that one. Mine is my usual effort of trying to chuck something together, going, yeah, be all right, that'll do, and then chucking it in, and everybody going, oh, it's all right. Yeah. So anyway, we'll see. But you never know, it might be a classic.
I think yours sounds a bit like Susie and the Banshees. I think.
There you go. Yeah. What was it called again? Bust.
It's Titties in the Dust, was it?
Titties in the Dust.
Oh, Cities in Dust. That was it.
Brilliant.
That was it. Honestly, you two.
That's it.
You're incorrigible. Right. Okay.
Right.
Thank you, Phill. That was an amazing interview. Thank you very much indeed, and a superb song afterwards. Again, so Phill, you're mostly on SoundCloud, aren't you? So if you're going to have a search up of that, have a look around for SoundCloud for stuff. Of Phill.
Yeah, we'll expand later at some point.
Indeed, I'm sure you will. Well, now it's time for.
Martin's Monster.
It's gargantuan.
Yes, that's right. It's Martin's Monster.
Yeah.
It is. It's a whopper. It is an absolute whopper this week. So I tell you what, we'll belt right into it, and then we'll have a chat about it on the other side. But this is Martin's Monster. This is Matt Watkins 2430. Well, Martin's Monster has delivered once again. That was Matt Watkins 2430. That was just utterly awesome. Tell you what, it's hard to tell now. The piano synths are so good now. It's hard to tell when that's actually a piano being played or whether that's a synth being played with a piano sample inside it. Yeah, it's amazing because it sounded so much like a piano. It is absolutely astonishing. I use Native Instruments, The Gentleman, which again it's sampled from real pianos, which it's just absolutely awesome. Anyway, I'll stop rambling on. Phil, how did you find that?
Well, it was wonderful. I like that. Great start. I imagined I was in Willy Wonka's glass elevator going up and up and up, into with the vermicious canids and all that business. And then it's like goes into prog rock, stabbing chords, very Pink Floyd at the start of it, but like going a bit more Mike Oldfield nearer the end. But I found it was interspersed with these little blips of electronica. So it got a past future feel to it. I thought it was a fantastic track. I love anything with a bit of musical structure, as well as your repetitive sort of thing. So it was a real nice, especially after my repetitive track, to have a well-structured sort of orchestrated track. Very good.
And again, there was some lovely choral vocal pieces in there as well, which were quite extraordinary that popped in occasionally. But the whole thing was just as a piece of music was massive. It was just absolutely huge. Really massive.
Well, this was I think Matt Stiddle, he tagged me in a post and said this is great, and so he tagged me and I listened to it. I thought, yeah, it is great, and it's right up my street, And I've been chatting to Matt. He lives in Abergavenny, down in the Brecon Beacons. And he's very door based. I said, well, 24:30, what is it? midnight? He said, no. He said he had a dream, and he was being asked by a TV presenter about it, and said about his track 24:30. Then he woke up and thought, that's a good title for a track, and that's it.
That's brilliant.
So there we go. Yeah, the wonderful sort of proggy synth solos, fantastic. Hints of Tangerine Dream, Moody Blues, maybe. The Mike Oldfield thing, but orchestrated beautifully, and and it is for Adored. That's the beauty of trying to make, for us people who do door music, is to try and make it sound like it's real. Yeah, and has he done that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's trying to humanize that, isn't it? I mean, sometimes you have a humanized setting. So in Machine, you have a humanized setting. Yeah. So once you've created, if you've created a sequence or anything like that, you can try and humanize it, where it'll just move things about a little bit. So everything's just slightly off the beat, just a little bit. So it actually sounds like you're playing it. So whether that's been put in there or not, I don't know. But again, just a fantastic piece of music. Absolutely superb.
Well, that was over 8 minutes long.
And it didn't feel like it at all, did it?
Yeah.
That just wandered through, and you just get lost in music like that. It's just fantastic. Really is superb.
So again, trap.
Yeah, absolutely. So is that Bandcamp again for Matt Watkins?
Well, not at the moment. You can find that. I think if you Google him on YouTube, I think you can find him on YouTube. But he is planning a couple of albums. I think he's a singer-songwriter as well. So I think he's trying to do like a man and guitar sort of a singer-songwriter type of album, plus an instrumental album. So I think you're going to see some things going on Bandcamp soon, hopefully.
Okay, superb. Brilliant stuff. Well, thank you very much indeed, Matt Watkins. Send some more stuff through. We would love to play more on the show. Absolutely astonishing. We've got another of our classic stalwarts on the show now, and I've been looking forward to this so much for weeks since we preempted this one coming up a little while back, I think, didn't we? We said that we had this title coming up. So let's just announce it. You've got to do your mantra first. Testicles, Tentacles, Wallet and Watch. It is the amazing Dr. Tentacles. This is Werewolf Scum. Testicles, Tentacles, Wallet and Watch. That was the amazing Dr. Tentacles. Absolutely astonishing piece of music. Werewolf Scum. That to me, that felt like I've never had LSD. If I'd have had LSD at some point in my life, that kind of felt like the experience it possibly would be. Wouldn't you say, Phil? Come on, surely. You've been in the music industry. You know this stuff.
100%. I mean, I'd never touched the stuff myself, but, you know, talking to people that were close to me in the music industry that were as high as a kite, they just sounded like they'd been listening to the amazing Dr. Tentacles,
yeah,
all the time. And there's another one that comes out with some fabulous titles, Werewolf Scum. And it's sort of, you can imagine it in this track that he's done. There's like a warfare, machine gun drums that start, and then they come in and out, and they're like, but then it builds a rhythm out of it as well. And you can imagine people being shot, coming up like werewolves or whatever, zombies and stuff like that. It's fantastic. And then at the end, it all slows down. And I can imagine them, the sun coming on the werewolves' faces and them going, turning back to like scrawny human beings like me, scrawny.
Well, it was like
track.
It was like Martin's classic sinister tune that he needs to chuck in somewhere within the evening. And at the end, it was the way that ended. It was like, I'm melting. It was like just brilliant. The ending there.
Help me.
It was absolutely superb. And because there were certain points in the song where there was just like not a sudden change, but a beautiful change in the song, which changed the whole feeling and aspect of it. So like about 1 minute 57, 2 minutes, there was a change in there, which is where the machine gun came in.
A new beat came in, so it changed the complete complexity of the track.
Yeah. Which is just brilliant. And again, like at 3 minutes 30, it turns into like I just wrote down a living, dreaming, hallucinating nightmare of visions, which was just a thoroughly enjoyable experience. But again, that's where the LSD kicked right in. Come on, Martin.
Yeah, wonderful werewolf weirdness from R10T, I said. I mean, 80s horror film. Definitely.
Yes. Yeah, I got that. Yeah. As well, I just spotted what I wrote down. I picked up like one bit of it. The sound in it, the synth sound, reminded me of Teletubbies. Vacuum cleaner, Nunu on crack. Nunu on crack. Amazing, Dr. Tentacles.
There's something I can't unsee there.
So, I mean, again, we love anything by Dr. Tentacles, and please do send some more in. But if you want to listen to more of that on the internet, where can we go? Is that a Bandcamp special again?
Well, it's if I read this right, it's yo Dr. Tentacles at .bandcamp.com. Yo,
super! He's brilliant, isn't he, Dr. Tentacles? I'm a big fan.
I am.
He is amazing, absolutely amazing. And he's brilliant. Even the messages he sends us, and when he sends his emails through, they are all very Dr. Tentaclized.
He's in a lair somewhere in Texas.
He's just brilliant. Absolutely love him. So let's all do the mantra together. Testicles, Tentacles, Wallet and Watch. Let's just watch some more of Dr. Tentacles. Absolutely superb. Thank you very much indeed for sending that through. We would love to play more. Yeah, go on, Phil.
Do you think he's holed up with Nash the Slash somewhere?
Oh, my life.
I think.
Oh, my God.
Could you imagine?
Oh, about Wendy
Nash
Wu
the Slash and Dr. Tentacles.
Yeah, with Wendy Wu and the Plasmatics.
Could you imagine?
Brilliant. Sorry, we've got to move on from tentacles.
Tentacles, Phil. Tentacles.
Super.
Right. Okay, that was super. Thank you very much. Oh my goodness, it's our last song. I can't believe it. But what a song we have to finish the night off with. It is absolutely astonishing. So again, we'll just jump straight into this and we'll jump out the other side. So this is Etherwood in Stillness.
Surrounded by silence, I've uncovered the truth. The calmness around me has answered my youth. To be here in stillness, in the absence of sound, calmness around me has answered my youth. To be here in stillness, in the absence of sound, I've never felt higher. With my feet on the ground, 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 with my feet on the ground.
Wow, that was Etherwood in Stillness. What an astonishing piece of music. Beautiful chords in there, and the slow attack on those chords as well. You know, when you could hear it when you press the keys, and it was just absolutely lovely, wasn't it, Phil?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This was, shouldn't have favourites, but I absolutely love this. I found it emotional.
Yeah.
It's like also some choral sounds in there that I'm sure he created himself. They weren't like off the shelf choral sounds. I think he did it with his own voice and what have you. And then it's just the drum and bass. It all makes sense in this track. It all made sense to me. His voice. He's got a lovely voice, so
it's beautiful.
But Martin's got a bit of technical talk, I think, about drum and bass and what have you.
I got into Etherwood about. I wasn't a great fan of drum and bass, but obviously got some Pendulum, which are they do dubstep and drum and bass. But this is liquid drum and bass or liquid funk. Is the other genre name for it. So when we're talking about drum and bass, we're looking the BPM is about 160 to 180 BPM, but this sort of drum and bass, liquid drum and bass, is more ethereal, more atmospheric, beautiful. And he is just one of the best at it at this genre. I mean, there are other people like Netsky, London Electricity, and Calibra who are other in this sort of genre. It's not like the really heavy drum and bass that you do here, which is brilliant as well. But so I thought it quite interesting to actually sort of talk about what we perceive as genres and what the BPMs. I mean, if you go and look at dub, apparently that's 60 to 90 BPM. Right. Then we go into hip hop. About 60 to 100 BPMs. That's quite a wide range for hip hop.
Yeah.
House goes from 115 to 130. Techno trance, normal sort of dance sort of beats, so 120 to 140.
Yeah.
Dubstep, 135 to 145 BPM, and then we come into the drum and bass, that generally, the fastest BPM of the electronic formats for genres, and obviously that falls into that category.
Absolutely, and I love a bit. I say I love a bit of drum and bass, and I'm desperately trying to look on my phone to try and find the album I really like, and I'll find it in a minute. That's why I was looking down, so I could just say who it was, but I can't find it in a second. I'll find it in a second. But we were just talking before as well, and I was just asking the guys as the track was playing, and just saying, "Well, have you heard the drum and bass that David Bowie did?" Because David Bowie did I think it was an album, or it might have been just like an EP. And I think he might have collaborated with somebody, and I'm pretty sure it was late 90s or very early 2000s that he did like a drum and bass thing. Wasn't
it Goldie who really started the drum and bass movement back in sort of like 20 years ago? But obviously if you we could talk hours about electronic genres and how they split off into all sorts of subgenres. But obviously you start somewhere with a format, and obviously you can go back to house music, which obviously comes from Chicago, I think, originally, but then it all splits off into all sorts of subgenres. So maybe what he might have got together with heard Goldie music and but as I say, drum and bass generally is quite a hard beat and not so melodic. This is melodic drum and bass.
Yeah, I mean, drum and bass.
It was very lovely.
It was lovely, and this is why I like drum and bass, because actually quite a lot of drum and bass starts off and I didn't know this was going to kick into drum and bass until it actually jumped in there. Oh, I found it. It was Danny Byrd was the guy I was looking for. It's DANNYBYRD, and the album is Supersized, and that's why I love drum and bass. Danny Byrd's superb at drum and bass, but this was brilliant. And I also look up that David Bowie one as well. But as a piece of drum and bass as well, Etherwood, In Stillness, that's the first time I've heard of them. It's the first time I've heard a track from them, but I am definitely going to listen to more, because it was beautiful. So subtle at the beginning, kicked into the drum and bass exactly as it should be. It was absolutely superb.
Dig out his debut album. It's got a track on Begin by Letting Go.
Right.
And it's a beautiful piece of music. Marianne, I did the backing track for Marianne when she's performed, do solo, and she's performed it as well. Because you know where you are with Etherwood, because you know it's going to come. Generally, the beat comes in very slowly and gradually. With all that ambience, and then fades out again and comes back in again. That's his like raison d'etre.
Yeah, it was superb. Absolutely beautiful piece of music. Absolutely amazing. Right, okay. Well, do you know what, chaps? We've actually reached the end of the night. What a very, very sad situation that is. Certainly for us, because I've thoroughly enjoyed myself here in the Caribbean. Wow, that's gone so quick tonight. That's extraordinary, really is. Far too quick for me, far too quick for you guys. Hopefully not, hopefully far too quick for everybody else as well. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Let's just have a quick rundown of what we've had tonight. We're going to have a quick whiz through. So here we go. So we started off the night with I Break Horses' Faith. What a bass line. What a piece of music. That distorted main, absolutely amazing. Then we jumped into our very good friend, Johnny Diamond, a new romantic on Love Street. And what a new romantic he is. A singer-songwriter, a one-man band, a superb musician all round. Johnny Diamond, we love you, my friend. Romnim 3, Dark Machina, Digital Fura, Replicating Robots, Sleep. That was just something utterly awesome. Nobody else spotted Gary Newman in there apart from me for some reason, or the great bass line again, but it was right up my alley. Number 4, we moved into Mini Mums, Can You Lift Me Up? Hiatus. And then, again, what a fantastic song. Have another listen to that. Think about Susie and the Banshees, Cities in Dust. I'm sure it's in there somewhere, or maybe it's just me. It usually is, but what a fantastic piece of music that was. And then we moved into Phil's interview. Phil, what a lovely insight into the music industry and your fame and your success and all the rest of it. It was just absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much indeed for that. And then we moved into your song, Bedouin Bedroom, March, Solstice Mix, Swirler Burner. Listen to more on SoundCloud. What an astonishing piece of music. That also was another bass, another great bass and another great lead. Doesn't matter if I've gone or not, Martin. I'm still here. That's all that matters. I'm still rambling on. Then we went into number 6, Matt Watkins, 2430. It was Martin's Monster, and what a monstrous monster it was. We had piano synths, which was so good inside there. That beautiful pad, massive tune, absolutely great, fantastic vocal pieces in there, absolutely superb. Right, then we went straight into number 7, which was Testicle Tentacles, Wallet and Watch. It was the amazing Dr. Tentacles with Werewolf Scum. What an astonishing piece of music that was. I absolutely love the amazing Dr. Tentacles. That was fantastic. And then finally, we finished off with Etherwood, In Stillness. What a wonderful piece of music to finish the night off with on this beautiful summer's evening. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. It's never a chore. Have you enjoyed yourselves?
No, never.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. Lovely. Loved it.
Great. It's a great honour to select this fantastic selection of music. It really is.
And Martin, you've done an absolutely outstanding job. Really is an astonishing set of music. And again, once a week, we should also just make sure that we always thank the people that actually put this music through. We bookended it with some pro artists in there, but the ones in between were just people out of the community. These are just people like the rest of us that just create a piece of music and then place it in and say, can you play this, please? And what an astonishing array of music. So we know the hard work that goes in, we know the amount of time and effort that goes in because we do it ourselves.
And they are, and they're sending them to us. So it's great. We got, it's making my job harder to choose what goes into the next week's show and so on, because they're coming through. Fantastic.
Exactly. Absolutely. So Martin, if they wanted to send a song through, where would they send it through to?
PULS8 Radio at gmail.com.
What's that email address again?
Pulse, that's PULS8. Got that right. PULS8 Radio at gmail.com.
Thank you very much indeed. Superb. Phill, I'm sure you'll be getting questions about your amazing time in the music industry. What a fascinating interview. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Nice to see you, Phill. Phill, do you want to give us the first big goodbye?
Ta-ra-a-bit, as they say in Wolverhampton. Ta-ra-a-bit.
It's a lovely one. I'd give you 9 for that. Martin, don't let yourself down.
Not star.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very good. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much indeed. We look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye.
PULS8 Radio. PULS8 Radio. PULS8 Radio. PULS8 Radio.